Sharon strolled into her roommate Mary's room. She was busy with her laptop on her bed. Sharon went to her with her phone and showed her the picture of an influencer and an expensive hair on her head. "How much do you think this will cost?" Mary took a look, stared at it for some minutes. "This is bone straight. Judging by its length, it should be around 150k or more." She looked up to Sharon's face. "Don't tell me you want to buy another hair again. May social media not be your doom. Do you have any savings at all?" she lamented. Sharon smiled. "I should budget around 150, right? Thank you, bestie." She scurried out. Mary shook her head. Sharon was an entry-level cybersecurity in her office. Her income was still low, but she wanted to wear everything this particular influencer she followed on Instagram wore. At first, it started like a joke. Sharon would watch Linda, the influencer's video, for hours, smiling sheepishly. Most times, she would slip off with her phone in her hand. Mary had wondered many times about her unhealthy admiration of that person. Many times, she would show Linda's picture to Mary, who at first complimented her beauty and how she lived the good life. Later, it began to irritate her when she found out her friend did nothing else at home except watch her videos. Due to her meager income of 150k, she had this trenches tailor, poor Margaret, who had really suffered in Sharon's hands. She would take pictures of exotic clothes worn by Linda to Margaret and tell her to replicate the style. She wouldn't pay more than 8,000 naira for a charge fee of 15,000 naira, but Margaret kept overlooking it because she always brought clothes every week. Sometimes she would make a scene at her shop on why the style isn't exactly what she showed her. Margaret was tired of her, but she didn't have a large customer base yet, so she endured. Sharon had no savings. She would always borrow from Mary, who earned lesser than her every month. One day, Mary changed it for her and called her a fool who didn't think of her future except present gratification. Sharon was hit by the words. She insulted Mary, but she knew that was a huge mistake because she would always need her before the month runs out. In the course of their argument, Mary had mentioned her refusal to copy how the influencer makes her money, which was learning lucrative skills. She called her foolish for attempting to live a 5 million naira lifestyle on a 150k salary. Sharon sat on her bed and thought about it. She decided to learn a skill, not just a skill, the exact skill Linda, the influencer, learnt, which was data analysis. With that, she decided to learn it in the same virtual academy where she learnt it. She knew this because Linda once talked about it. She went on their website and found out the school fees runs in dollars. It would break her financially. She went to Mary, who had apologized to her, to tell her her intentions. Mary told her that there were other institutions that charged way lesser. She should learn from them. Sharon refused. She insisted it must be from Linda's institution. She told Mary she would save. Mary shook her head in awe of her foolishness. Some months later, there was a trending gist on the internet by an influencer who said people who earn below 300k are poor and should not think of marriage. Sharon saw it and read many of the comments that showed agreement with the poster. She felt bad. She was moody all day. She had refused to talk to Mary, who tried to inquire what was wrong. One day, Mary was in the living room when she saw Sharon bringing in boxes of fabrics. The boxes were many, so it couldn't be for personal use. "I'm starting a fabric business," said Sharon excitedly. Mary stood up, looking surprised. She took a good look at the goods on ground, and by her calculations, the goods can't be less than 500k. Mary asked her where she got the money. "Oh, my auntie kept the money with me. She won't need it for the next 3 months. I should have made enough to pay her back by then." she said innocently, and hummed her way into the room. Mary looked confused. She stared at her as she went in. Can this girl run a business? She soliloquized. 2 weeks later, Sharon walked by the living room. Mary was watching the TV. Sharon, I haven't seen you advertise these clothes since you brought them in. Is there something I am missing? She asked. Sharon mentioned that she wanted to get models to wear the clothes and she was looking for money to pay them. She also mentioned taking them to use a hotel. Sharon, start with what you have. Buy a mannequin. Wear the clothes on them one after the other. Take them outside and snap. Edit and post, said Mary. No, that is not how Linda runs her own business, answered Sharon, who went back to her room. Linda again? Mary screamed. A month later, she had worn half of the clothes. 2 months later, a call came in from Mrs. Rowland, Sharon's auntie. Sharon shivered. She hesitated picking it. She had spent the 500K she kept with her, and there was no way she could recover it then. She refused picking her calls. The next day, her mom called her. Sharon, why haven't you been picking your aunt's call? She complained she had been trying to reach you since yesterday. Hope you are fine. Sharon pretended the network was bad and hung the call. She knew she couldn't hide again. She thought of a good excuse to give. Peradventure, she wanted to ask for her money. She called Mrs. Rowland. She didn't pick as she was at work overseas. Mrs. Rowland called back at night. Why haven't you been picking my calls? Anyway, your cousin, Laura, just got admitted into Uniben. My desire is for her to live with you, since you live so close to the school. Okay, ma, said Sharon, who was happy she didn't ask about the money. So, I will need you to buy some groceries that will handle her feeding for the next 1 month. Use the 500K I kept with you. Next month, I will send another. Please feed her well. You know how Laura can be, said Mrs. Land. Laura moved in the next week. Right from the very first week, Sharon had problems with her. Sharon had bought some cheap foodstuff to feed her. Laura, being a spoilt girl and knowing how much her mother had sent, refused to eat any food that didn't look sophisticated enough. Why is this pasta dry like this? No veggies. Just one egg in my food? I can't eat this. She walked away. Sharon looked at Mary in confusion. But this girl's mother sent you money. Why aren't you feeding her well? Mary queried. Why are you talking like this, Mary? It was the money that I used for the failed cloth business. Everything she's eating now are things I managed to buy with my meager income. She lamented. I warned you about this fake life, but you wouldn't listen. Deal with this, said Mary, who went in angrily. Sharon sat on the chair and started sobbing. I think I need to see a pastor. Why am I always in one problem or the other? She muttered to herself. Just then, her phone rang. It was a call from her auntie. Hesitant, the call persisted. She picked it. Sharon, Laura said you haven't been feeding her well. Why is that? What did you do with the money I... Sharon coughed. I can't hear you, ma. I think the network is bad. I will call you. Sharon interrupted. The next day, Laura threw a fit. She displaced everything in the living room in anger. After lamenting that she hadn't eaten anything reasonable since she came in, Mary suggested she eats out. Don't you have any money with you? Sharon is broke, said Mary. I don't eat out. I have a health condition. That was why my mother brought me here in the first place. This wicked sister here that calls herself my family has not fed me well for 4 days now. She has watched me starve. I... Sharon ran out of the house in tears, feeling embarrassed. Mary called her, but she didn't listen. Sharon didn't come back home that night. Mary was worried. She wasn't picking her calls. Mary looked outside intermittently, praying that God would keep her. Laura had moved out of the house. The second day, Mary went to Sharon's workplace during their break time. She found Sharon, and together they went to a secluded part of the office. Mary showed her displeasure at how she ran out of the house without a word. Sharon apologized. She said she had to turn off her phone the previous day, as her mom and auntie kept calling her. All I wanted to do was get out of poverty, she said and sobbed. You went about it the wrong way. You got motivated in the wrong way. Your motivation should still align with your natural pace. Don't do beyond yourself. Don't let people who were privileged from the world go. Start making you feel like you have achieved nothing when you know you are from a poor home, said Mary. Sharon said she wanted to learn a skill. Yes, it's a good one, but start by learning skills you can afford. Earn from it, save, then pick those expensive skills later, said Mary. Sharon looked up. There is this skill that Linda just started. She Mary picked her bag and moved towards the door. Sharon rushed and held her. Please don't go, she begged. Not until you rid yourself of this havoc that you have allowed the social media bring on you. Don't talk to me again. Mary went out angrily, with Sharon staring at her back.